Welcome everybody. Hope you're all well. Just got back from the gym. We're going to be ranking what we're doing. We're going to be ranking all movie Batman that released in cinemas or theaters, whatever you want to call it. I've purposely left out one of them, Batman: The Killing Joke, because that is just not the true representation of Kevin Conroy's Batman. No matter how much you might want to argue it, I'm not even going to try. So I've excluded that. I was tempted to include it, but I was like, no, I don't think I've even watched it properly, so I'm just not even going to include it. I don't want to watch it. So yeah, we're going to just go through with the notable ones that everybody is familiar with. But yeah, let's go through it. So we've got 1966, Adam West's Batman, Michael Keaton, Batman, Val Kilmer, George Clooney. It's funny, those three are meant to be the same version of the character as well, actually. Keaton, Kilmer, and Clooney are actually, if you didn't know, meant to be the same person. So yeah. Christian Bale's Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, and Lego Batman, Will Arnett. So yeah, this is going to be something different. I haven't specifically rated people before, or how I define it as most accurate, most faithful, or whatever. I think I'm going to do it like that, how I envision Batman the most from what I've read in the books and just, I guess, most faithful Batman media, like Batman the Animated Series or whatever. So if I think it's more akin to that, or just how if I look at him and I think, oh, that's Batman, I'm going to just go off that. But anyway, let's get to it. Okay, Adam West Batman. Okay. A lot of these guys are going to get rated based purely on the fact that they kill. That just makes me want to rate them really low just because of that. But I'm going to try and be fair, try and be a bit relative. All right, let's just go through it. So yeah, Adam West, he kills. He kills people. You know? He probably has killed people with his bat repellent shock spray, if anything. In terms of when he's Bruce, I quite like it. He's quite suave. He's quite stoic. He's quite normal. He's pretty chill. That's actually what I expect. Alfred and Robin are around, you know, and he seems to have a good relationship with them, which is nice to see. But in terms of why I'd rank him, he's very goofy. He doesn't take himself too seriously, which is not Batman. He makes jokes, which is, again, not Batman. It worked for the time, and I think at the time, if you saw a Batman comic, 1960s, yeah, I think you might have picked up a comic maybe where Batman wasn't fully realized yet, like his character hadn't really fully developed in terms of him using a gun and all that, you know, things of that sort. Like actually what made him Batman, like actually makes him that character. So I think based off of that, I think I would give him, it's hard to say, but I think I'd give him a C, you know. Yeah. Just because of that. No, you know what, B, I'm actually going to go B because he really worked for the time, even though it's a very... It just worked because the character wasn't fully realized yet, so I have to give it props for that. If that was the case, I think I would give it C. The thing that saves him, the redeeming part, is his Bruce, I think. At least for me. But I think what elevates him is just because he came out during that time. You know? So I think that's what changes it slightly. But anyway, Michael Keaton Batman. Okay. So this is where people started to realize that Batman was actually quite dark and, you know, action-packed and serious. Let's put it that way. That he could actually be taken seriously. But the problem I have with him is his Batman kind of sucks. I don't really like his voice. I kind of did when I was a kid, but I heard him say, it was kind of cool. But then I just, you know, when you compare it to different other... Yeah, it just doesn't hold up. His Bruce, again, is pretty cool, pretty calm. He does give off a bit of a playboy, you know, edge to him. Like, he's quite, like, especially when he's with Vicky Vale, whatever, he's pretty flirty. He bounces off of her quite well. But when he's Batman, he doesn't even move properly. Like, his head's always tilting around and all that. You know, he's just not, he doesn't exude, no, he does exude aura, especially when he's scaring criminals, but he does kill people as well. And the tie-in about Joker killing his parents, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. And despite everything, it's just that I just don't see him comforting a kid or anything like that. I don't see him being very friendly. Like if he saves someone, I can't remember. Did he actually save anyone that wasn't like an immediate sort of friend to him or anything like that, like affiliated with him? I don't really know, to be honest. You know what? I think this is the point when they could have actually genuinely took him seriously, more faithfully, but they just chose not to. They chose to keep him in the archetype because one of his most core traits is not killing people. That's like his most core one, right? But they made him do it, and they weren't even afraid to show it. So for that reason, I think I'm going to give him a C. I can't let nostalgia get the better of me because even though he's the first one, the first true one, I'd say the first true one, doesn't mean he's good. Like I'm just not gonna look at the part. Like if anyway, I'm digging a hole. Val Kilmer. Okay, yeah. So this is again, they're all meant to be the same guy, and I actually think he's quite good. Unironically, as both Bruce and Batman, he's humble and approachable. He's suave. He has a suave to him. He has an aura to him when he's Bruce. When he's Batman, he's quite heroic. You know, he can be intimidating. I like his fight scenes. I like his like traversal. Like whenever he's, you know, I remember one scene when he's in the air and he's falling down, and you see Two-Face and I think Riddler go into the sewer, right? And he's just following them. That scene was pretty cool because he was just sort of just gliding down, trying to get to them. I really enjoyed that. But he does kill Two-Face at the end. Indirectly, I think, if I'm remembering right. Indirectly. But Batman doesn't even kill indirectly, that's the thing. But I actually quite enjoyed him though, because especially with Robin as well, you know, like his dynamic with Robin and also people just keep changing Robin as well. This is the funny thing. After this one, they were scared. They're just terrified to include him ever again in the live action. Wonder why that is. Because they just made him so edgy in that movie. But anyway, this isn't about Robin. Yeah, it's about Batman. I thought he was pretty cool. He's not really blonde. Batman's not really meant to be blonde, but that's just kind of like aesthetic stuff. This doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But would I rank him? I'm going to give him a B. I could see him being intimidating. I could see him being friendly. I can see him being, you know, suave, charismatic. So I think I'm going to give him the, yeah. What doesn't bring him up higher for me? It's just that he kills and he's not consistent, you know? Like he just doesn't have that sort of oomph to him where I go, yeah, that's Batman. I can't really explain it, you know? Like they don't really explore much of his detective side, for example. They don't really explore much of his Batcave, and like he doesn't really have much dialogue apart from just wanting to get with that lady. I forgot her name. But anyways, George Clooney. Okay. Alright. Alright, let's talk about him. What can I say? What do I want to say? I don't even want to talk about him. The Flash, right? Ezra Miller's Flash has ended up in this guy's universe. I think that was just a kind of final FU to the DCEU as well. Put him here. When I saw him in the film, I actually saw Flash in cinemas, by the way. I actually saw it. The first thing I thought was when I saw him, I was like, ugh, no one's going to get that. No one cares. I don't even care. Like, even me, I didn't care. I saw him in that, and I'm just thinking, okay, sure, whatever. And I was thinking, oh my god, he's actually trapped in that universe now. He's actually trapped there. And he can't escape. I was like, fun. That's fun. But in terms of his Batman, he literally has the worst movie, Batman and Robin. What they done with Bane is truly appalling. Like, he just hasn't got anything. He just doesn't have anything about him. His Bat credit card as well is just disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. It is appalling, and I will not forgive him for that. I just don't see him exuding any aura, any gravitas, any sort of display of heroism, intimidation. Like, he's just man. He's man. You could give him another name and he would suit it. And I just have nothing. I just don't want to talk about him. I have nothing to say. Christian Bale's Batman. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Hot take. I have never been a fan of Christian Bale as Batman. Even as a kid, I never really saw him as like my ideal Batman, you know? I like Christian Bale, but I've never really liked him as Batman. He's decent as Bruce, you know? He does give sort of a I care about you sort of, but I am low-key kind of a dickhead in a way, you know? Like in the first movie when he's trying to I really like those films in terms of grounding Batman in reality and him having to actually think, oh wait, I'm Batman now. I actually need an alibi as to why people won't think Batman's me. So he does create this persona of which he is an ass, you know, like people just think less of him. And I really like that, you know. People think he's a drunkard, people think that, you know, he's just abusing his family's name. He's good in terms of that. I really like that. His Bruce is quite good. Even in the next film as well, Dark Knight, you know. People don't really like him in Dark Knight Rises as Bruce, I think. I think Bruce has more screen time as Bruce Wayne than he does as Batman, funnily enough. But I think it works for that film because he hasn't been, you know, affiliated with anything for a long time. He was out of the public eye, so I think he escapes with that. His Batman, oh my god, his voice is awful, right? I think I'm going to be totally honest. Aside from the fact that I've never really been a fan of him as Batman, he was never my true thought of Batman. His voice in the first movie was quite good. I thought it was quite good. And then after it, I didn't realize until rewatching the films like a while ago that he actually sounded okay. He sounded good in the first one, but then in the second one and third one, he just sounded awful. He just dialed it up all the way to 11. Christian Bale. I don't know who told him that. I don't know who told him to do that. I don't know why nobody noticed. The writers, the director, especially Christopher Nolan, are crazy. And Batman himself he's pretty likable. He's really cool in the first movie. And that's probably why that film's my favorite as well, actually. Maybe that's another hot take. The first film's my favorite one. The Dark Knight is a good film, but it's not a Batman film. It is crime in Gotham featuring Batman. That's the best way I can put it. You know? But where would I rank him? Yeah, so he gives up as well. Oh yeah, his willpower is also great. It's not great as well. You know, he does kill people indirectly again. You know, you see he let Ra's al Ghul to die. Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul, he left him to die on the train. Batman would have saved him. I don't care. What else does he do? Doesn't he kill someone? Oh yeah, he kills a few people, I think. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, he does kill, even indirectly, which I don't like. His willpower is not that great. You know, I don't really buy him as Batman. He's like no live action Batman apart from Pattinson. Pattinson has been like, I wouldn't say that before Pattinson or even Lego Batman, there wasn't a Batman that was like at least 80% as faithful to the character or accurate as it could have been. You know, but where would I rank him? The thing is, he just gives up as well. Like after Rachel died, right, and all that, and then his identity, you know, people turned on him and whatever. You'd think that he would still be Batman. He would just keep it private now. Like he would just be sort of inconspicuous, mysterious. You know, he'd just be more to the shadows, working for himself alone. But he just gives up and he goes for 8 years. Unbelievable. So I think I gotta give him a. The thing is, his movies are really good though, so I think I gotta give him a B. If his movies were just as good as these guys, I think I would give him a C, just because of how he develops and how his character changes. Because he's just not. It's not Batman, man. It's not Batman. He wouldn't be like that. But anyways, Ben Affleck's Batman. Okay. All right, let's talk about him for a bit. So where would I put him? Where would I think about? He's really. I think he's the most intimidating Batman. I think he's the scariest one. You know, if I saw this one. You know, if this one was in my world, whatever, I would be like, okay, yeah, cool. I'd walk down the street. I would be worried to do anything because if I ran up on him and he'd beat me up or whatever, fine. But this one will be pretty scary though, because then my first thought, if I was in Gotham at night, I think, oh, I don't want to mess up even a little bit because then he might come out. You know, he is the one that created the memes of jaywalking. You know, I'm gonna beat you up if you drop a, you know, if you jaywalk or anything like that. But he does kill people. He uses guns, which is insane to me. I don't know which one's worse, him killing people or him using guns, or killing people with guns. You think of all things, just logically with this character, you know, he just wouldn't like guns anyway. He would have an affinity for them, but it doesn't get it as Batman. You know, I like how he is as Bruce again. I've said it a few times with the other guys as well. When he's Bruce, he's quite cool. How different he is as Bruce compared to Batman is really cool, because he's just so chill and mellow as Bruce. But I can't see him really comforting a person like a kid or anything like that, like staying with them, being compassionate, I guess is the best word you can put it with anyone. I think he would just get fed up and whatever and just walk out. So I think I gotta give him a C. I don't think he's as bad as George Clooney, because at least he's very competent. You know, he's a dummy, you know, he's not a great detective, he's a bad detective. He punches first, asks questions later. He's a dummy, but he's competent. and probably that's why he does it. At least this version of him, at least he's competent. And he knows he'll be all right. He knows he'll probably be all right, so that's why he does it. Such is life. Anyways, Lego Batman. Okay, by Will Arnett. Yeah, Okay, before Pattinson, before the Batman, I'd say that this film is probably the most faithful Batman movie, Lego Batman movie, or faithful Batman movie ever made. Not even kidding. It does something different that no other take on Batman has ever done, in film at least, is tap into his loneliness, like explore that. And I didn't get it at the time when I watched it because I was, a younger lad. But it really explores a part of him where he has no one apart from Alfred. And it is so sad because people love him out in the real world and all that. Even barely on a surface level, but they still love him. But then he goes home and he's just alone, and it's shown subtly as well because it makes you think when he's sitting there on his yacht or whatever, just having dinner, like what, crab or whatever. I can't even remember what. And he's just there alone, eating. And we just watch him do that for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. It's cool because it just shows, it's just trying to tell us, it's trying to show us, not tell us, it's trying to show us that this guy's alone. And it shows later on that he's afraid of being alone and that he's afraid to admit that he's alone and that he's lonely, which is quite relatable as well because a lot of people can relate to that, including myself, just feelings of loneliness and all that. And he comes through, he's so faithful. I can see him being like that because even his own super friends don't even like him in a way, and he's just sad about it, but he's just sort of internalizing it all the time and he wants to do everything on his own. He doesn't think anybody needs him. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to be vulnerable. And even now, just taking it seriously, I can actually see him being like this. I don't see him smiling. This is sort of watered down kiddie level stuff when it comes to that sort of thing. But everything else, it's quite fair, And when he's Bruce as well, he's really cool. He doesn't want to be Bruce. He loves being Batman. He'd rather always be Batman, but he realizes that he has to be Bruce sometimes. And even when he's Bruce, he's again pretty chill, pretty normal. I wouldn't see I was so surprised how different. I was like, oh my God, I forgot. I actually forgot. I was like, oh yeah, this is Batman. When he's Bruce and he picks up Dick Grayson as Robin. But where would I rank him? I'm going to give him S. Whoops. I'm going to give him S. Yeah. I think he's just really good. No, that's Batman. That is Batman to me, which is really sad because he's the one that's taken the least seriously, if you think about it in that way. Robert Pattinson's Batman. You already know where it's going, man. The most accurate, faithful Batman movie ever made. I can't really think of anything wrong with it in terms of his character, at least, because right now what they've done with his Bruce, all that, it's very believable, because he's only been on the scene for 2 years, and he doesn't care at all about his Bruce Wayne persona or anything like that. As far as the public's concerned, he's always been in hiding, I think. So even in these 2 years as Batman, when he came back, he was probably just said, "Oh hi, I'm back," and he just went into hiding. I can believe that. So then that doesn't really make anybody think that he could be him. He could be Batman. But when he is Batman, he's serious. He doesn't talk much. He just moves around and he just, stares. That's Batman. That is Batman, his footsteps, his demeanor, his mannerisms alone can tell you if he's Batman or not. And that's great, if anything. He's intimidating when he needs to be. He's not as scary as this guy, but I still think he is intimidating to criminals and all that. He's competent. He's a good detective. He is compassionate. He can, I can see him, every core aspect of Batman. I can see him doing that. And he shows us in the film that he, stands by his no-kill rule and all that. And that he can't just be a grueling agent of vengeance, I guess you could say. He has to learn how to be more. He has to learn how to be a superhero, actually a superhero, because before he's taking down bad guys, but he's a symbol of fear as opposed to a symbol of hope and justice. But now he realizes at the end of the film, as the film progresses, that he has to be more for people, and I really like that. That's a great character arc for him, which I don't think, again, has happened before this character, where he realizes that he needs to become a superhero. For that reason, what do I like? So yeah, so I don't really have anything to say that's wrong about him. In terms of what they'll go with his Bruce, I think that's very interesting. I think he will be the more sort of Bruce that we're more familiar with, you know, status quo type thing. And that is why I'm going to give him an S2. Alright, that was all the movie Batman ranked, minus the Killing Joke. I'm not going to do that. Let me know what you think. This was fun. I don't even do anything in the A tier, by the way. Whatever. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed. I've been JBHD. Take care.